Back here on Game Day Recap, I want you to take a look at the AFC playoff picture. This, of course, is if the playoffs were to start right now. The Colts sitting at the top of the division there at 7-2. The Broncos jump up. They kind of swap with the Patriots there, go from 3-2 there. And the Steelers, all your division leaders. I do want to mention the Bills. They get that big win over the Chiefs. Some bad news, though, with that win. Defensive end Michael Hoyt did tear his Achilles today, so he is done for the season. Tough work there for the Bills. And then when you look at the other side of that graphic, guys, the Chiefs on the outside looking in behind the Jaguars, the Ravens sitting there at the 10th seed in a minute. They could sneak up. The AFC is going to be very interesting, a lot different than what we're used to seeing here at this time of the season. Gets crowded at the top, guys, when you don't take care of business, and that is the message for the Indianapolis Colts. Daniel Jones goes from being the hero. We can't say enough good things about him. And then today, it's kind of the same old song and dance. You get the 3 touchdowns, but you also get the 2 fumbles lost there. 342 yards, not bad. But, Pete, you kind of said this. They are who we've said it like 4 times today. You are who you are, and the Colts kind of humble us a little bit here.
Well, is this who they are? Or
you tell me.
I mean, sometimes you get into a situation where you go on the road against a team that's desperate and you say, okay, you're going to find out what they have. And the Steelers showed a little bit today, and particularly on the defensive side of the ball. They've been awful on the defensive side of the ball. They got after the quarterback today. They turned the ball over. They took it away. And they did some really good things. They had 5 sacks of Daniel Jones. This is an offensive line that had been really good up until today, and they were beat up. And if it wasn't Daniel Jones' ability to move, it would have been a lot more. So it just might be one of those situations we go on the road to catch a desperate team, but it does throw up red flags about the Colts. One thing, and I get why they did it, when you play this Steelers team and you look at that secondary, you say, you know what, we're going to go in there and we're going to throw the ball around, we're going to attack them, and we're going to hit them for some big plays and score that way. Well, you get away from who you are, don't you? You got away from who you are. Jonathan Taylor carried the ball 8 times in the first half. I think they got away from who they are as an offense, building it around him, and in turn, they turn the ball over. Run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, throw off of that run. Not throw it, and then come back and run Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor, though, kind of ghosted the Colts offense today. Not his most productive day ran for the Colts offense, to Pete's point.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's like Pete said, he didn't have very many opportunities. And a guy like Jonathan Taylor, he needs to touch the ball to really get a rhythm and get going. And I felt like watching this game, when we were watching this game, I want to give Pittsburgh their credit, their props. I think they played well. But I also felt like the Colts beat themselves. And I think they beat themselves, like Pete said, with the game plan. And you're trying to do too much and throw the ball and attack this secondary that have been struggling instead of doing what you do best, right, which is turn around and hand the football off. But to that point, the offensive line struggled. I hadn't seen this group struggle like that this year, and Pittsburgh really got after him. You talk about the amount of sacks they gave up. Daniel Jones, it was 6 turnovers total. He threw 3 picks, fumbled 3 times. I think he lost 2 of those 3 fumbles. That's not Indianapolis Colts football. That's not what we've grown accustomed to seeing this year. And like Pete said, I think this is just a one-off. They were playing a team that really needed it to continue to gain momentum in their division, specifically with, Baltimore coming the way they did on Thursday night. So I just think this is a one-off, and hopefully they get back to turn around and handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor.
This is a one-off for Daniel Jones, Indianapolis Colts quarterback. It is not a one-off for Daniel Jones historically throughout his career. As somebody who watched him a ton with the New York Giants, when you had Saquon Barkley going and you had a good offensive line, Daniel Jones was great. But the minute he faced some pressure, that's when he got a little bit squirrely, and that's when he got loose with the football and tried to do too much. And it was not a great performance for Daniel Jones. Very curious to see where he goes from here. How much of a bounce back does he have? They have Kansas City in a couple weeks. That'll be a great opportunity, a litmus test to see exactly where the Colts are. But this, I do think, is a red flag for the Colts, because if there's a book on Daniel Jones, if you can pressure him, you can fluster him, you can rattle him. And this is a game, because I think you guys are spot on, where you've got to know, if you're Shane Steichen, this is who we are. And you have to be aware of Daniel Jones' history, where I would expect, and this is what good coaches do, they come in the next day and they say, that one's on me. And you even go up to Jonathan Taylor and say, hey, we should have force-fed you the ball more. I don't care if we're not having success. When I was on the Broncos with Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, I'm telling you, they were so committed to the run game, And any game you deviated from that, the first thing they would do is apologize. And they recognize it. They're like, no, we got away from who we are. I would expect Shane Steichen and that staff to talk to those players and be like, this one's on us for getting away from who we are. And if they do that, I think they'll be fine. But I do think it's a red flag for Daniel Jones.
4 carries in the first 3 drives for Jonathan Taylor. 4.
Right.
That can't happen. That cannot happen. By the way, you talk about their schedule. Next week it's in Germany against the Falcons. Then it's at Kansas City, home against the Texans, at Jacksonville, where they never win, and at Seattle. We're going to find out what the Colts are really made of in the next 5 weeks.
How about the Steelers' defense, though? Because I know that there was a massive narrative this week and even the week before. They're too old. They're not getting it done. They can't move. And yet we've talked about all of the takeaways and things. What do you think about the Steelers' defense?
Well, the front got after it today. And they have talent on that defensive front. TJ Watt showed up and played a big game. They got after Highsmith showed up and got after the quarterback. And so that's the basis of their defense, is to stop the run, and they kind of stopped the run because the Colts stopped it themselves, and then turned their pass rushers loose to cover up the age on the back end. Now, they made a shift back there. Ramsey's now playing full-time safety. A lot of people always thought Jalen Ramsey was going to be a safety anyways later in his career. Well, he's not playing full-time safety, and so they seemed to respond to that. But again, he still threw for 380 yards or whatever he threw for, and so it wasn't like they stopped him; they just turned him over.
Sorry, I lost my place here. The Steelers are going to go on the road. They're going to take on the Chargers next week. That is where we go next. The Chargers kind of sweat it out, I would say, against a Titans team that just can't get out of its own way. I do want to mention Dayan Henley. His brother was shot and killed this weekend. He was a game-time decision going into this one, and he turns around and he has 7 tackles and a sack. I mean, I want to talk about the Chargers offense, but Rand, I'll give you first word here when it comes to the Chargers defense in that situation specifically, for him to get out there and not only play, to put on the jersey, but to have an impactful day. What did that mean to Henley today?
Well, I think it meant a lot for his family, because not only did he lose his brother, his father's currently incarcerated at the time, and so his family has gone through a lot, and they've been going through a lot for over the last couple years, and Dayan has been the bright spot for that family, and he carries his family name with pride. So him going out to play today and be there with his other brothers, that's something that I would expect out of him and the young man that he is. And he has become the captain of that defense for them. And he's become that one guy in the middle that the guys around him, they kind of gravitate to. I had the ability to see him work out this summer in Vegas, and just his approach and how he goes about his business says a lot about who he is. So, thoughts and condolences go out to the Henley family. This is a big loss for them.
He did say after the game, he said, since I got the news, my brothers were there. Denzel Perriman was right there. My coach, Navarro Bauman, was there too. So obviously it was important for him to show up, and he did a great job of that. On the offensive side of the ball, guys, Justin Herbert, again, just continues to be a roller coaster. Had the interception, then turns around. He threw a touchdown to a defensive lineman, by the way. Scott Matlock gets in the end zone there.
He's also their fullback, though. They use him as fullback. Yeah,
That's
so he
fair.
plays both.
Okay. But in general, when we think about the Chargers, Danny, what do you think? How do you feel about them as the season has gone on?
I look at them and I feel like I know what Harbaugh wants to do with this team, and yet when I look down and I see Justin Herbert as the leading rusher, I don't think that's what Harbaugh wants to be.
Well,
so they've got offensive.
had something working against them today.
Right.
Jamie Eisenberg made him the start of the week.
Oh, he did.
Womp womp.
But they've got to get their offensive line situated and healthy for them to come back and execute the way that they want to.
Joe Alt, to that point, before we move ahead here, he was believed to have suffered another high ankle sprain. This one might require surgery. So to your point, that offensive line just cannot stay consistent. Yeah,
and it's hard to get any semblance of a run game going, and protection for that matter. Herbert got hit a lot today, and he was under duress a lot. And so the game, to me, changed once he started using his legs. Because for a while, he was standing in the pocket and trying to operate solely from the pocket. But once he started escaping and getting out on the perimeter, I thought that's when they really started to go off, as an offensive unit. But this defense, to me, I'll just say this team as a whole has been tough for me to buy into, in terms of them being a team that's going to come and make some noise in the playoffs. I just hadn't been able to buy it, and the way they played today, although they came away with a victory, is another reason to why, you should be able to put your foot on the gas, close that game out, easily, and they just weren't able to do it. Now, the Titans came out and played some spirited football today, but It's just tough for me to buy into this Chargers team.
You know, the whole identity of the Chargers team was supposed to be a physical, knock you back in the run game, play good defense, and be physical, and they're not that. That's not who they are. And so that's the concern. You talk about the offensive line. You know, we look around and see, we talk about trade deadline. You could make a trade for a receiver. You could make a trade for a corner. It's awful hard to make a trade for a lineman because there aren't many. Yeah. And, you know, backup linemen in the league, are teams hold them in high value because they know that they're going to have to put them in play. So I don't know where the Chargers can go find a tackle, because now you lose Slater, who's one of the best in the league, and now you lose Alt, who's one of the best in the league. You have big problems.
This is why you have your young players and you continue to develop them. Because at some point you're going to need them, and you have to be able to trust your process and know that you got the right people there, and just understand, like, hey, this guy isn't going to be Joe Alt, this guy isn't going to be Rashawn Slater or Mekhi Becton for that matter. We're just going to have to deal with the ebbs and flows of how this person's going to come in and play. But you also, and you talked about it with another guy earlier, you got to be able to adjust to what you have out there on the football field and not put them in those tough situations.
Real quick, Rand, and we'll leave this and move it on. How are you feeling about Cam Ward and his development this year?
It's tough. It's tough because not only do you, at one point, your head coach removes himself from calling the plays, and so now your quarterback coach becomes your play caller, and then your head coach is fired, and then someone else comes in. But to me, the big difference in losing your quarterback coach, who's now the play caller. You're not getting that one-on-one, attention that you need to help with your development, because now he has to game plan. So I don't know how, what's working in their building, who's actually coaching Cam on a day-to-day basis, but I'm sure some things and some technical things have changed now that your quarterback coach has moved on to become the play caller.
I think it's almost impossible to evaluate Cam Ward this season. And it'll be like a bunch of quarterbacks that we've seen recently that in their rookie year, the head coach has been fired, you clean house, so next year you're kind of starting from square one all over again. And it sets back your development. It's a year wasted. That's what I hate seeing for some of these young quarterbacks.
Can I ask you this legitimate question, though? We say that about Cam Ward. It's hard to evaluate him. They made an evaluation on Will Levis last year, didn't they? Same situation. No players, bad situation, the same coach they fired, and yet everybody made the evaluation on him.
Well,
this
boy,
guy makes...
Your love for Will Levis knows no bounds.
It's the reality of it. It's true.
It is. But he had a couple years, though, didn't he?
Cam Ward needs to pick it up.
But Will Levis had a couple years.
He had a half a year, and then he had part of last year. He had to have a whole year.
We'll leave it at that. Will Levis, we are always thinking of you here on Game Day.
I know Pete is. I do. Because I think somebody's going to get themselves a quarterback down the road. He's going to end up like Sam Darnold.
Maybe the Vikings. Maybe that's who the Vikings trade for.
Well, he's not available. Yeah, he's on IR right now.
You're right. I forgot.
Get better, Will.
Get better, Will. We are certainly thinking of you. Let's go to another exciting game that came down to the wire. Who would have thought? Raiders, Jags. This one was a weird one. Normally when we're talking about Geno Smith, he's throwing interceptions, but today he had a pretty clean game. He had 3 touchdowns. Unfortunately, that final drive in overtime, they go for it on 2. They can't get the connection. Danny,
I love the decision to go for it, by the way. I love it. I mean, the season's already kind of gone off the rails. You don't have so many opportunities to win game, and it comes down to one play, and you can dictate whether you scored or not. And there was a player that was wide open. You just couldn't get there because the ball did get batted down. So I think it's just one of those seasons for the Raiders where it doesn't think you can, you just have some tough luck going against you. But for Jacksonville, I thought this was a game where Jacksonville's a team that you talk about teams that are hard to buy into. Jacksonville is probably one of the harder teams to buy into. That still could end up playing in the postseason.
And could end up winning the division.
Right.
As crazy as that sounds. And they, they haven't played very well. And at some point, at last drive of the game, right? Trevor Lawrence is throwing to Austin Trammell, Tim Jones, Johnny Munt and Hunter Long, and somehow, some way they found a way to get down the field. And they ran the ball, and they made some good plays in that situation, but they're so banged up on offense. Brian Thomas went out of that game. Travis Hunter wasn't in the game. Bretton Strange, their tight end, not in the game. And all of a sudden you look around. They might be a team that needs to make a move to find a playmaker. If you can get one, maybe they need to make a move to get one.
I'll say this to your point in you saying that it's hard to buy into the Jaguars. I'll just say this. I didn't expect them to be where they are right now. Just me coming into the season, I was like, in my mind, this is going to be a development year. New head coach, first-time head coach with a whole new system. It'll take them a year. And they've played better ball than I thought they were going to play. But we talk about this Raiders team. They were efficient today. I mean, and that helps when you get Brock Bowers back.
Yeah.
And we saw him, and we saw his versatility. We saw him. He had handoffs today, and just his run after the catch skills and ability. Like, having him in the lineup should help this Raiders offense really get going. We saw the run game be effective today. Ashton Genty ran hard. I think he had a receiving touchdown as well today. And so it was one of those games, like you said, that decision to go for 2, that is a Pete Carroll decision. Like, they are there to win the game. And so I think that decision, I love the decision as well. And man, was Tyler Lockett wide open in that spot. It just and you
it
called
got blocked, though, didn't it?
Yeah, the ball got batted.
Devon Hamilton.
And had it just been a little more arc. And then, look, I'm standing
Right,
behind. It's easy for me to say. I've never thrown a pass in a game. But if you would have liked to see that ball get a more arc, but even that, Devon Hamilton, he left his feet early. And so he was just kind of hanging in the air. And when you got that pressure and he's just trying to get it out. But, man, I think had they connected on that, I think we would have saw a different Raiders team.
And Brock Bowers being back, him 3 touchdown catches on the day. He is one of the best in the league right now, and clearly that helped Geno a ton too.
But to your point about putting loft on the ball, Devon Hamilton weighs about 340 pounds, and his vertical jump is probably about that high, and he still knocked it down.
Yeah.
Got his paw on it. Are you, real quick, just to end on that point, are you feeling encouraged by what you saw at least with the Raiders today, or are we still out? I mean, they're 2-7, so it's not a great record, but at least the football, are you encouraged by it?
I'm happy that we saw better football out of them.
Yeah. Geno was better. Geno was better. That was important for them because he had not played very well. He was much better.
I'll say this, and it's just mathematically, if you're 2-7, it's hard for me to be encouraged.
Sure.
You know, but like I said, I appreciate that they played better ball today, specifically Geno.
And you want to see, like, there are a lot of teams that throw in the towel and they start going through the motions. I think they're still fighting and clawing and trying to win games.
Is going for 2 basically saying we're throwing in the towel, though, in that situation?
I mean, yeah, I think they're saying, let's try.
If they were in a playoff race, would they have gone for
No, probably not, but they know they're not, so they can take that decision.
But I think, too, because of who Pete Carroll is and the message he preaches, like, guys, we're here to win football games.
Yeah.
And I think him going for 2 was more of a statement to the team, like, I believe in us and I believe in our ability to win this football game. And sometimes that's all you need is just that little, this guy believes in us, so we got to keep fighting. And he knows that it's that year, that time of year where there are some teams out there they've thrown in the towel and they're just kind of, hey, we need 11 to kind of run out here and compete today.
I think players love, now everybody goes for it on 4th down, not like everybody, but players love when your coach says, we're going to go for it on 4th down, we're going to go for 2. I think it shows your team that we still believe in you and we're going to put it in your hands to try to go win the game. And I think players always respond well when you put faith in them and say, hey, I'm going to bet on you guys.
If they were 5-2 or whatever, they wouldn't have done that.
Let me ask you this.
I don't know. I think they might have.
I don't.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because we have to always throw in the coaching wrinkle in all of this. And I know that Pete Carroll has all this experience, and it feels weird to say, is he on the hot seat after just half of a season in charge here? But they are now tied for the worst 8-game start in his career as an NFL head coach. He did the same back in 2011 with the Seahawks. Coaching change necessary in Las Vegas, or you stick with him? No,
absolutely not. No way. And by the way, you start seeing little glimpses of Patrick Graham's defense is starting to play a little bit better, and you're starting to see, the offense. Chip Kelly I think he's had a hard time scheming it up without Bowers being in the lineup. Now that he's back, I think you're going to see a better offense. So absolutely not this quick. No way.
And I was somebody who earlier in the season was like, could this have been a mistake? But I think he's definitely earned another year.
All right, earned another year. We will see if that is the case for Brian Daboll. Got to hit a break here on Game Day Recap, but we are headed to the Meadowlands next. At least we're going to talk about the Giants coming up next. Is he back on the hot seat? Is he safe for another year? We'll discuss after the Giants lose to the 49ers. That's coming up on Game Day Recap.